Hello and welcome back to another Dare to Game video. Today we're taking another look at Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. This time we're doing the full gameplay reveal that was released on Warhorse Studios' YouTube channel. There's a lot of commentary in here and it is about 25 minutes long. I've watched it a couple times now because I've been going through and clipping little bits that I needed for other stuff and really absorbing it in. I'm probably not going to go into as exhaustive of detail as I do for a lot of this stuff just because it is 25 minutes total. I'll have a link in the description to the full reveal on their channel if you want to check that out and just kind of watch it yourself. I'm kind of just going to highlight, excuse me, I'm just going to kind of highlight the things that stand out the most to me. So while I was watching this, kind of the things that really stood out to me, A, I saw some cool armor in here, B, the combat gameplay that they showed is very interesting. They showed some gameplay mechanics that are slightly different from the first game, just UI stuff. And so that's kind of what I'm going to focus on mostly. This isn't going to be a historical analysis or anything like that. I'm probably going to steer clear of that just because whenever I do that, it gets really, really lengthy. And I don't want this to be a 3-hour video. So if you're interested in that, let me know. I can also do that at some point. I am obviously super excited for this game. And so anything content related that makes sense to do with Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, I'm very interested in doing right now. So let me know if you want to see any of that. But let's just jump in. And like I said, I'm gonna focus mostly on the gameplay, but we'll stop whenever we get some that I want to say something about.
Peggy 18.
So actual gameplay footage subject to final polish or polish, depending on how you want to pronounce that. But so basically, that's just a disclaimer that anything in here might change in small ways between now and release.
The Holy Roman Empire, 1403.
So the game is set in 1403, or at least the footage that we are seeing. Either that or this is an inaccurate time card, but that's something a lot of people have been questioning. So I would say that whatever is taking place in this video, which I'm going to assume is somewhat near the beginning of the game, is actually taking place in 1403. So year confirmed. All right, we don't need to go through this. This is the scene that we've seen a couple times now. It was in the teaser and everything. It is just a bit of cutscene content from this quest that most of this reveal has to do with. This guy here is a foreigner. He's Polish. He's a man-at-arms, and we are trying to recruit him in this mission. So don't need to go through all that. A, it's in Polish, and so the vast majority of my viewer base wouldn't be able to understand it anyway, and B, we've already seen it a couple times. This is probably the first moment where we actually get a look at some gameplay, or not probably, but actually is. You can see that we're still in the cutscene format here with our bars and everything, but we do get a good look at Henry here. The graphical resolution is all pretty good. That is Pebbles there. That's been confirmed. They have the collector's edition has been announced, and in there they have a Henry and Pebbles statue, so it's confirmed that this horse is in fact Pebbles. I think they've done a great job with the horse tack. In the first game, it was all fairly inaccurate. A lot of that stuff was very modern designed, and just would not be something you'd see on a horse in the 1400s. This looks much better. So all around good stuff there, and like I said, just the armor that Henry's wearing, of course, looks terrific. At about 14 seconds in, you can see that we're getting a view of our map, so this is something that is interesting. Again, like I said, this is some UI changes. The map itself is very similar in style to the map system we got in the first game, which I love. I loved that style. It's very artistic and immersive in my opinion, because it's not just a high, resolution, digital looking map like we get in most open world games. It's got this old hand-drawn style to it, so I love that. It is a little bit different. You can see that we've got a different aspect ratio for one thing. It looks much larger, or maybe they're just cropping it specifically so we don't see stuff off to the side that would be spoilers, but I'm guessing this is what it looks like. And then maybe you toggle your objective menu on and off. As he goes through, you can see that he like hovers over things and it will highlight your objectives and tell you what they are. All that sort of stuff is like the first one. Up at the top, you can see we've got our standard options: map, journal, inventory, player, crafting, and codex. Crafting is interesting. That's not something that was a menu on the last in the last game, at least not to the best of my knowledge, was it ever? So that could just be somewhere where it shows us like the potions that we've unlocked or our abilities smithing wise, because we know smithing's going to be a part of this game, or there might be components that we can craft on our person out in the wild. Maybe this is something like arrows, crossbow bolts. In this trailer, we see him throwing rocks. Maybe it's things that you can throw to distract. Maybe it's preparing food. Whatever it may be, it's interesting that we have a crafting menu now. The rest of that is all stuff that we had in the last game, though. Here we're just getting some traversal gameplay, which looks excellent. Everything looks high definition. I love the way it all looks. Here we get a shot while he's walking into the tavern. Interestingly, we get a unique crest on the shield here. Like I've said before in these videos, that's something I hope we get a lot more of. The medieval period was not a standardized period. It would be rare to see unless you had some sort of a lord that was very finicky about everything being uniform, which certainly existed, but it would be very rare to see people that looked similar in this time because clothing would have varied so much, especially for men-at-arms. And it's interesting, like I said, I wanted to see more crests in the first game. Now mind you, that's a relatively small area, but you really only kind of see a couple crests. You see a couple variants over with just the colors for the Sasau area. You of course have the Lords of Lipa style stuff around the Rattay area. All of Sir Radzig's stuff has kind of his crest going on, and Talmberg has its own thing. So there was variety, but everyone had a crest. I mean, I have a crest. I've got a family crest from back when my family was in Europe. So it was very common to have just a ton of different stuff for all of any level of nobility basically would have something here. So it's interesting to see that. Looks like 2 crossed hammers with 3 mountain peaks on a red field. Hard to say exactly what we're doing there, but it's cool that we're seeing some variety. We can see our players that were coming into contact here are Farkle players. I'm assuming Farkle will not have changed much. It'll be interesting to see how they handle the dice, because in the first game, once you kind of figured out which dice you liked using the best, you could develop a strategy rather easily to never ever lose games. There were several sets of dice in the first game that were absolutely broken. I don't have a problem with that. I liked that. It made it feel like there was actually some point to going around and collecting these dice, because then you could become basically untouchable in Farkle. So I'll be interested to see where they go with the dice in this game. This whole section here is just us getting snippets of this same mission here, where we are looking for a person who apparently gambled his way into debt and then tried to run away and fell into a cesspit and drowned, I should say. And so you're looking for him in here, which is of course gross and makes you really dirty and stinky and all that sort of stuff. So that is exciting for the game. Another thing I've got here that just me personally, it doesn't come up in the video, they don't mention it at all, but if I'm seeing a pool of refuse like this where you can't find the body, and there might be more stealth elements in this game where you can hide bodies of people that you've killed, because that's the main takeaway I get after this, because it's a rather standard mission. He goes in here looking for this body, finds the body, brings it out. The people want the bow that Ranyuk had on him. And so when we go to search him, we get a view of the inventory, which is vastly different. This is very different from what the personal inventory of NPCs looked like in the first game. So that's the first interesting thing we see here. We've got different categories you can separate. It's of course all listed over on the side. But like I said, it looks nothing like the NPC inventory screen from the first game. So that's a very exciting change. I like this. It looks very easy to track. Like I said, you've got different categories. So if you know you're looking specifically for a book or some materials, or if you just want to grab weapons off of people that you're killing, you can easily sort by category there. I like it. It all looks great. I'm interested to see how much unique gear is going to be in this game, because you can see he says Drowner's Hood, Drowner's Gamson, Drowner's Gloves. This could just be beta stuff that they haven't actually removed, and there will be different items when we do this mission in the full game, or there might be a lot more unique clothing and weapons in this game. We don't know. The first game had a lot of standardized stuff. Again, like I said, the more variety you have in a medieval game, the more accurate it's going to be inherently, because standardization was not a thing back then. So interesting new UI changes that we're seeing here. But like I said, as far as what my main takeaway from this mission is just that we can now maybe hide dead bodies and people won't find them. And that is an exciting change, because it really adds into the stealth elements. Here then we get a confrontation, because these gamblers of course want this bow from you, and you have the choice to either give it up or to keep it yourself, and we can just play through that a little bit.
God, what a stench! So, did you find the bow?
And so you can see we had 3 options there. Once we found the bow, we could either hand it over. Here it is, so we can finish the mission amicably by giving these people that. We can pay them for it, so we get to keep the bow, but we're paying 1,000 groschen for it, or groschen. And then we have the option to withhold the bow, which is what, of course, the person playing the game in the reveal chooses.
Well, I have it, but I won't give it to you.
And that leads to combat.
With what I had to go through to find it, it's more of a consolation prize.
Did you go mad from wading through shit? Give it to me.
Come and get it.
Fellas, hold your noses and beat him up.
And so here we go into some combat, and I'll show some of that, but I just want to talk about it a little bit first. So you can see that we have some noticeable changes right away. Our combat directional choice option here is different from the first game. So you can see in unarmed combat, we don't have overhead strikes. We just have side to side and the bottom has been changed from 2 directions to a single direction. So the whole thing has been simplified a decent amount. When you're in full armed combat, you'll see our overhead strikes come back, but it's still only 4 directions now instead of 5 like it was before. We're also getting some other indications. We have our interaction icons up here are represented by rabbits, which I find to be quite interesting. From a historical point of view, I know I said I wouldn't get into it much, but just a little note here. Rabbits were used in medieval art a lot, and that's just an interesting thing that you see a lot for some reason, and I'm not sure why, but they were, and they're using them here. So you'll see right here, we're obviously in open combat. You have 2 rabbits sword fighting, but throughout the gameplay reveal, we see various different states of that, which I assume, instead of like a crouching person like it was in the first game, that's going to be how we get all of our indications of what our action status is, whether we're sneaking, whether we're being suspected of something, whether we're in combat, whatever. It's these rabbits up here that are telling us. We do have our compass, which looks similar to the first game, easy to read, it's just directional, tells us our quest objectives, all that sort of stuff. Down at the bottom, we can see we've got sort of the same stuff. It's slightly changed from the first game, but basically it's all the same stuff. We can see the weapon we have equipped over on the left. We can see Henry's stamina there. We can see his health. We can see any potion effects that we may or may not have over on the right side. Then we've got our status effects that we have over on the side. Usually those in the first game were from debilitations, or if it was hardcore, they would be things like negative perks, or they could be positive perks that you get through skills or various other things. So, like I said, UI for all of our HUD here is slightly different looking than the first game, but it's basically all the same stuff. So now let's just watch some of this combat, and I'll start it and stop it, but there's comments I have about it.
Combat included.
So you can see there that while he was switching weapons, you have multiple weapon slots to switch from. So I also am seeing a lock here, and I'm seeing quick slots for potions and stuff, which is something we did not have in the first game. In the first game, your weapon options were 1 or 2, and it was your bow or your ranged weapon. Here you can see there are 4 slots, so maybe we can have a sword equipped, and a crossbow, and a bow, and maybe a mace or something like that at some point. I would assume that it is skill points that you use to unlock these different weapon slots and different potion slots, and then you can use quick keys to switch between them. That is an excellent change. It's something I definitely wanted in the first game, but we never got. I love seeing that, especially with the potions too. Because you had to go into your menu and use them, I rarely used potions in the first game. I pretty much would just, once I got to the end of a fight, or if I started getting really dangerous, I'd go into my inventory, eat some food, maybe take a potion here and there. If we've got them at quick slots, that'll change. It'll be a way more strategic part of the gameplay because I can do it while I'm out and about without going into my menus. So I love seeing that we've got quick key choices for weapons and potions.
Our fighting system is built on true medieval martial arts and wrestling techniques. Fluid, thrilling, and tactical. As in real combat, movement is the key.
So I'm loving the way this looks. It does look significantly more fluid than the first game. We also look like we've got more speed and weight behind our strikes and blocks. That's something that a lot of people complained about. I myself, like I said, I loved this combat system in Kingdom Come Deliverance, but I, of course, also recognized its weaknesses. I don't know how much I'm going to love the fact that our lower strikes have been limited down to 1. We'll have to see how that actually affects gameplay. I got very used to the 5 directions that we had in the first game. I'm guessing it's not going to be that hard for me to adapt, and I'm sure I will like it. The rest of this stuff I am definitely liking, though. The combat looks very smooth, it looks very fluid, and like I said, it doesn't feel like you're swinging around a light wooden stick half-heartedly. These strikes feel like they've got more power behind them, both from you and the NPCs. You've got more audible clanging from hitting a sword on sword. It all seems a lot more visceral, and that is a good change, because as much as I liked the combat system in the first game, these were the flaws of that system, and it seems like they've definitely been addressed here.
As is equipping a good set of armor. Otherwise, you might find yourself in a pickle.
So you can see we still have a realistic combat system, which is something that I love. I hate games where they have you bashing your sword against an unarmored opponent and it just slowly lowers their health bar. Can't stand that. You hit someone in the head with a sword who's wearing a hat like this, guess what's going to happen in real life? You're going to cut their head open. You're going to kill them from a strike like that. So that's something that I love about Kingdom Come Deliverance's combat system. Mechanics of him falling down look a little, of course, comical, but I would say the ragdoll mechanics are a little bit better than the first game. That is something I wanted to talk about. When I first saw it, I was like, okay, that's awesome. So in the first game, you had finishing moves and stuff like that were pretty cool. We didn't have anything like this, and it looks awesome. First of all, it's very fluid. Second of all, again, we're taking advantage from the fact that we're fighting an unarmored opponent with a sword. So we're able to, once we get into that, and it'll be interesting to find out if it's automatic or if it's a choice or something like that. But you can see we line up our sword point with his exposed fleshy neck, and then we just push it through, which is a real-life move that you would definitely do. That's how you would finish the fight. Once you had an opportunity to have the tip of your sword up against his body, it's just a simple thrust from there, and he's dead. And that's what we do here, so I love that. And then, of course, we finished the fight with a Master Strike on the third one. So all of that is excellent. Again, I'm excited about the stealth possibilities of being able to hide these bodies. After this, Henry decides to flee the scene. We get a comment about how we stink.
What the? Did I step in shit? Oh, it's just you.
I didn't have the time to wash it.
And I love that. I love that we're going to hopefully get a lot more interaction with the world based on our actions, our appearance, our smell, all that sort of stuff. We got some of that in the first game, and I always loved it. I'm just guessing that we're going to get a lot more of it in this game, and that's excellent. So after this, he decides to take Henry to the bathhouse, which makes sense, and it's a great opportunity to transition us over to Kuttenberg. Hopefully there are bathhouses in all the villages, or at least all the major villages in the game, like there was in the first game. I would hate to think that I have to go all the way to Kuttenberg to bathe up, unless they have made it so that you can bathe up yourself in a wash tub or a river or something like that and get a better result. Because I liked that you could do that in the first game and that it would kind of clean you up, but I didn't like how you didn't have the option to take your time and do a really good job, because obviously you could bathe very well just using some washer water. But anyway, it takes us up to Kuttenberg and we get another long view of the city. It looks awesome. We're getting that same approach as before, but now I'm noticing maybe it's just because there's different lighting. We've got a lot going on down here. You can see we have some farming terraces, which I absolutely love. That's something that you'd see all the time in medieval period. It's a very good use of land, and to see it outside a city like this is awesome. We got some sort of a water body through here, some sort of a stream, I assume, and a covered bridge going over it. All of this looks very, very cool. No complaints about the visuals in this game, at least not yet. You can see riding in, we're getting a lot of people, which I'm enjoying. In that first teaser, we didn't really see how many people there were going to be, but riding through here, we can tell that there's quite a few moving in and about. Definitely comparable or more so to Rush Hour in Rete in the first game, so that's good. If this is the average experience, it should not feel empty. And we're seeing a lot of variety, lots of colors. Just in this shot here, we've got at least 10 NPCs, and none of them look the same. They all have unique outfits. There's a wide variety of colors. None of it clashes. None of it looks out of place. It all looks accurate. I really like that. That's a good indication. We've also got some very cool variation in our buildings, obviously similar styles, given that they're all built in the same place, but you've got different colors. The whitewashing has been done at different times, so you can see this looks a little bit older, this looks a bit newer. We've got some cracking over here, exposed rock here, and larger quarried bricks here, so I would guess that we've got different parts of development on the same building. Love that. I love that we're seeing some banners with some shields and different crests. All very, very cool visually. We also get a shot of this tower from the inside. I love that. It's got the exposed inside. That's very common for medieval towns and walled towns and castles, that it wouldn't be solid on the backside. This way, obviously you use a lot less materials and a lot less time to put up a tower like this, but also if anyone was to get inside, yes, you are no longer as protected from the inside, but you also have a free line of sight to take anyone out that might have gotten inside, and it also helps with security on the inside of a town, which is the main concern for a walled town. It would just be day-to-day security. So you have a catch pole up here. They've got wide visibility of this alley to see anything going on that would be untoward. We're also seeing a lot of horses. I like that. The first game sometimes gave the feeling that very few people had horses. They appear to be quite a bit more common in this game. We get a couple more people walking around here. This guy looks to be a fairly well-equipped man-at-arms or knight. I love that armor. It looks very similar to some of the stuff that we could make in the first game, just piece-wise, but it all comes together a lot better. They've done a lot of work on the armor system, and I've noticed it, and I love it. So, like I said, although it looks very similar in style to the first game, the quality looks a lot higher. We also get a shot at this guy here. Looks to be somewhat fancy. We've got some gilding or some gold leaf or something on this clothing that kind of makes it shimmer, but it looks rather fancy. It's a good indication that we're going to get more high-class clothes. Here we've got another man-at-arms that looks fairly well detailed. Obviously lower-level armor here, but it looks amazing. We also see there that we get the general option to greet or jeer, so we get to decide how we want to interact with people in this game, hopefully with a lot of freedom. I'm hoping that that's pretty much always an option when you talk to any NPC. Then we go into the bathhouse. We have the same basic options as the first game. I need a hot bath and my clothes washed, treat my wounds, give me a bath and wash my clothes, and I'd like full service and some pleasant company. So the same options for the bathhouse that we had in the first game. So a nice quick one where we just get a bath and wash our clothes if we're just dirty, the one that will also heal us, as well as those two things. And then of course, you know, whatever variation of pleasant company they end up giving us. Maybe it's a cutscene and some noises, maybe it's a black screen and some noises, maybe it's graphic. We don't know, but we'll know when we get the game. So that's all very exciting. The prices went up a bit. You can see 75 groschen for the bath and healing your wounds. Then once we leave the bathhouse, we get some more information about just the open world and interactions. You can see there's one thing that I noticed a couple times is when he whistles for his horse, if you're near a woman, she'll comment on that, like you're catcalling her. We'll have to see how overdone that is. It might get a bit annoying, if I'm being honest, constantly being reprimanded for whistling for your horse. But it'll be interesting to see how much stuff like that actually happens in this game. There's a random encounter coming up. Let's see where that is. Oh, before we get to the random encounter, there's a quick cut compilation of a bunch of the naughty things Henry can get up to. I want to watch it because it was amusing and showed some pretty cool stuff. So let's watch through it and then we'll talk about it a little bit.
In the city.
Did you forget your clothes somewhere?
Aye, at your mother's place when I was shagging her.
All right, so in there we got several cool variations of things. First of all, Henry basically doing a yo mama joke at this point. Hilarious, love that. Hope that there's plenty of that in the game. We got, of course, Henry's amazing ability to punch pluck chickens, which is something straight out of the first game, and I'm glad that hasn't changed. It's part of the charm. We get 2 different shots of Henry being disciplined for some sort of a crime. I love that. We get a shot of this lady here with a rather high-definition face. Of course, it was also quick that I'm having trouble scanning to it. Here we had just some combat inside what appears to be, my guess would be an armory, but it could also be a weapon shop interior. We get the same thing here, but with an armor shop interior, or again, armory, but this time he's using the pistola, our boomstick, essentially, so that's cool that that's being used regularly in the open world, assuming that wasn't part of a, designated set piece. We're waking up drunk in the street, and then, yeah, like I said, we have a lady with a rather high-definition face compared to the first game. Come on! It's only for a frame, so it's not letting me go onto it. There we go. She looks like she's very disapproving. My guess would be maybe Henry's naked, but whatever the case is, she does not look all that pleased. There's more discipline. Here we get a shot of Henry using his crossbow, so you can see when he goes to fire, it has a zoom in effect. We'll have to see exactly how lore breaking and distracting that is in the game. Then we get, of course, a stealth kill, some more open combat with what appears to be some sort of a pole arm, and we also see some blood splatter at this point, which is pretty cool. And then Henry having his 80s action hero movie one-liner.
That was just a little appetizer. And now I'm hungry again, so I reckon it's time for another course.
Of course, I love that, and I love that they're leaning into the fact that Henry was always hungry. Like I was saying before, we have a random encounter here where this guy comes up to you, tells you that he left his purse here, and you get down off your horse, and then he pickpockets you. You have to chase him down to get your stuff back. This is something that Red Dead Redemption 2 had a lot of, and I was hoping that was going to come into this, the sequel more, and so I'm glad to see that there is some. Hopefully there's variety. Hopefully it's not overdone. Random encounters can be very fun and immersive, but they can also be very annoying and repetitive, so it depends how well balanced it is. But I like that they're including it in more ways than just like finding a dead body while you were traveling, because that was the typical random encounter, that or being ambushed. That was the typical random encounter in the first game, and like I said, they're fun, but sometimes they can be like, okay, this has happened 300 times in this playthrough. That's probably too many times. It's not random at that point, it's just every time. Here we get a shot where he's going into just what looks like a basic trader, kind of a general store type of thing, and you can see that there's a lot of stuff being sold here. So we've got belt options. That's something that we didn't have in the first game. We also get a good look at the inventory screen, which was very exciting for me because there's a lot to be had from this screen, so we're gonna spend a little time taking a look at it. So like I said, this trader sells all sorts of different stuff: shoes, various pouch and belt options, a torch, etc. But the main focus is over on the left. So it looks to be mostly the same as the first game. We can see quite a few different screens, but what have we got here? So down at the bottom, we've got our quick select options for both our potions and our weapons. So you can see on the bottom left, you've got indications with dots next to them, 2, 3, 3, all that sort of stuff. So I'm guessing we're going to be able to equip multiple weapons and slot them in so we can quickly choose them during combat. We've got sort of the same, but like I said, added a couple different things in. So the belt and the pouches, that's new. So we can see down by our torch, we have a pouch. I'm guessing maybe that different pouches give you different inventory abilities, or maybe just raw amounts that you can carry. I don't know if the belt is purely aesthetic, or that will give us the option to maybe equip multiple swords, or a sword and a dagger, or something like that. Who knows? We can see that we don't have any equipped, but we have jewelry slots for rings and a necklace and spurs, just like before. We've got 2 leg slots, so I would assume the one next to the spurs would be the one that was just boots in the first game, and the one up top would be the one that is leg armor if you have separate. But you can see that he's got a piece of leg armor that fills both, so just like the first game, we've got that. Next to our upper leg armor, we've got our chausses. So right now we've got some padded chausses on, but I would assume that male chausses will be in the game again, so we'll have various options there. Then we've got right above that our gauntlets, next to that our arm armor. Above the arm armor we've got mail, next to that we've got our shirt or gambeson, and you can see we do not have a piece of chest armor equipped or any sort of overcoat. So that's an interesting thing that's different from the first game. You can see we do have a hood on over on the left side, and on the right side there's still a slot for the our pour point, or our jupan, or our wafen-rock, whatever, the thing that goes over our cuirass, our chest armor. So in the first game, you chose a hood or one of those things. Clearly in this game, you do not have to choose between them, or at least it appears you don't, because we have a hood on and that slot is still open. So that's a good change. It never made sense to me that you couldn't wear a hood and a wafen-rock, considering they cover a different part of your body. So that's a cool change that is very different. You can see we have an equipped dagger. So in the first game, daggers were just something you kept in your inventory for stealth kills. In this one, you can actually equip one. I like that because I can't tell you how many times I accidentally took the dagger out of my inventory, so it's cool that it can be equipped here. Then, like I said, our slots appear to be mostly the same other than what I've already mentioned here. Up top, we have a hat. We've got a coif slot for presumably padded coif, chainmail, whatever. Then we've got our hood slot, and we have a collar slot. So that's interesting. In the first game, the coif and the collar slot were the same. Maybe this one is that top one is for the padded one, if you're just going to have the cloth, coif or coif on, and the bottom one is for your mail. That could be. I don't know. We'll have to see. Other than that, we're seeing that we're getting our armor readouts for telling us the stats on that, and our weapons down on the bottom. That looks pretty similar, if not identical, to the first game. You can see our speech, charisma, speed, conspicuousness, noise, visibility, strength, agility, vitality, health, rest, and nourishment. All of that's down at the bottom. We can also see our reputation system looks relatively the same from the first game. Very interesting. We're seeing a lot of details that they just glossed over in the video here. But this screen tells us a lot about the differences in the armor system that they've already made. So that's cool, and that's something that got me excited, considering how much time I spent playing with the armor system in the first game. Here we see that when we're trading in Ranyek's bow, I think it's cool that when you're in the screen here, now it's got Henry holding it like that, so you can actually see it. That's a cool change. But also, remember how one of the options was to offer to pay them 1,000 groschen to let you keep the bow? Well, here we can only sell it for 167.7. Maybe that's because we're we're at a general trader and not a weapons trader, or maybe it's a good indication that the prices that things that you might see for things in this game aren't actually accurate, and that's interesting. Other than that, we're just seeing that we've got a couple different things in our inventory. We have a crossbow, a mace, a longsword, bolts, dagger torch, and then we've got all of our armor down below, so that's all very interesting. It's cool to see just more details about the stuff we're going to have in the game. After that, he heads back out on the mission, stops for some ruins, and here we see some more combat, so we'll watch through that more specifically, but first there is an encounter that happens that I find to be quite interesting. You ride in and this guy yells at you, and you have the option to apologize or to fight immediately. So again, we're just seeing more detail in our dialogue system and how much more dynamic it is in this game. But once again, we're seeing our rabbit indication up here. I would assume this means that we're suspicious, or it's a warning that if we don't leave, which is why the rabbit's pointing, bad things are going to happen. So we're once again seeing our little rabbit indicator. Here in the video, he decides to take his chainmail off so he doesn't make as much noise. That's a feature we had in the first game where stealth was something that was determined by the gear that you were wearing, so it's good to see that that is still in here. We also see that we have something that he isn't wearing in the video, but we see the noble bassinet here with significantly higher value. Probably something that I'm guessing they used console commands, or maybe obviously just killed a high-level person and took it, because I'm assuming that this mission takes place early in the game, and it's just interesting to see that there, considering we don't see them wearing it at all during the video. Interesting there. But here we get some stealth, so I'm just going to play it now, and we can watch through some of this, and I'll comment when we get something. All right, well, there right away we have something that is I've had in other games before, but I don't believe the first one had. He threw a pebble to distract him. It's a very common open world gameplay mechanic, but it's something that I oftentimes wished we had in the first game, because a whistle can be too distracting and can draw everyone's attention. And so it wouldn't be great if that was something that they had in the game but only used for one. So it's cool that we've got the option to throw a pebble to slightly distract or maybe draw someone a little bit out. But that's a stealth mechanic we did not have in the first game. Once again, our rabbit is a different icon up here. This time he has his hands up like he's looking, so I'm guessing we've drawn their attention and now they're looking. So that's the warning we're getting from our rabbit. And there we got a stereotypical stealth kill. I'm not sure what he was about to say. I'm guessing that the guard had noticed Henry right before he got stabbed, and maybe he was going to say, never should have come here, or something like that. Hard to say, but there we got our first stealth kill. So we saw our new mechanic with pebble throwing, and we had that. We also can see that our potions down here. Looks like this is probably marigold decoction, so I'm guessing he took that before going into combat. And we have save your schnapps, so maybe it's a quick save option, which is interesting, but I really like that. So here you can see he whistled for him, and once again the guy is now searching, so we're just going to play a little bit of cat and mouse, hiding behind this rock here until he goes past. He didn't notice him pop out a little bit early there, but again, now we're just going to go in for another stealth kill. That's another thing I noticed. Each time he goes in for a stealth kill, we get this little icon for the lower strike from the directional combat. That pops up. I'm wondering if it's automatic once you've done a stealth kill, or if maybe you have to time that perfectly so they don't break out of it. In the first game, if their strength stat was too high, sometimes when you'd go in for a stealth kill, they would just automatically break out of it. Maybe this one is going to be timing and skill based, so that could be very exciting. Next, we get a part where he loads his crossbow, and that's cool. You can see he uses his quick slot, pulls out his crossbow, takes it out, loads a bolt. Doesn't take very long, so that's exciting. Then he goes in and takes a shot. He purposely pulls to the side and misses the shot. You can tell very easily in the video that it wasn't organic, that he misses it, because he has him sighted, and then he pulls to the left and fires. I know why he did it. It's because he wanted to show how you can handle combat options after you've defeated someone, and if you just killed him with the crossbow, you couldn't. But it was cool to see the crossbow being used for stealth like that. I like that as a change. As someone who is an archer and is primarily a bowman, I like using ranged weapons, but it was something that realistically, especially using a longbow, they make a decent amount of noise. You have to be standing up to use them, so they're not easy to use out of, well, you don't have to be, but it's really, really hard to use them crouching. So it's not an out of position stealth weapon. The crossbow is a very good alternative to that. So I'm glad that this has been added into the game, and I'm very excited for that. Here we get some more combat, and there's a lot of commentary during it, but we get some cool stuff, so I will just play through it. Basically, we see him breaking down the shield, and we can actually see visible differences on the shield as he's hitting it, and we get a lot more examples of the fluidity in the combat. So we're just going to watch through that.
Show your stuff.
As you can notice, shields are very handy when you carry only a short weapon and have a free hand. But we cracked it right enough. Let's try to dodge and attack him right after. you go, Henry. Yes, the weapons and shields can fall apart during combat if they're damaged enough, so it always pays off to take good care of them.
I'm just getting started.
Mercy.
Victory at last.
All right, so we saw quite a few things there. It was cool when we beat down the shield and that comes down. I liked the animation behind that. And he also said so it pays to make sure it's well repaired before you go into combat. That, of course, is cool. So maybe if you get into a fight and your shield is fine, but it's like just hanging on, you get into the next fight and it immediately breaks. That's obviously a cool gameplay mechanic. That'll make maintenance a lot more important. We also get some more examples of just how much better the combat feels in this. You can see that the strikes that both Henry and the other guy are landing feel like they've got more speed and power behind them, and you can actually again hear that audible clanging when a sword meets another sword. These are things that the first game definitely didn't have down very well, and you can tell that that has been a major area of improvement here. So I love all of this combat that we've just seen here. The other interesting thing is that after he surrenders, we get some various options here. So you can see we can attack and just kill him. We could let him go, no questions asked, or we can make a deal. So that's definitely more variety of options than we got in the first game. And if you choose make a deal, you can see we again have options. I'm freeing you is just letting him go. The usual, give me your weapons and leave. So we take his sword or whatever. Give me everything you have and leave. And scram, that's taking basically, I would guess, everything except for the basic clothing. So we're not stripping him naked, but we're taking any valuable armor, money, weapons, etc. And then, of course, we can also just choose to fight him to the death after that. He chooses everything you have, and you can see we get several different things. We got 91 groschen, the Basilard sword, Burger's shoes, and we also got a Saxon hauberk, the Magdeburg cuirass, and a mail collar. And then, of course, it shows that we could have also just chosen to execute him. So all of that, very cool. I love that we get the option to leave people alive and take their armor. As someone who is very into collecting clothing, armor, and weapons in games like this, so I can actually compare them and, do all my little armor guides and stuff. It's cool that we don't have to kill everyone to get their stuff. That's a good change for me. After that, we go inside. You can see we've got a well-stocked alchemy lab. I like how much more detail there is in this than the alchemy labs you'd find in the first game. That's very exciting. We see that we've got, it's called Remedium here, but it's clearly Savior Schnapps, and the guy even calls it Savior Schnapps in the video. And then we find a chest loaded down with potions. So there's quite a few stuff in here. We can see that we have different varieties. So strong Aqua Vitalis, strong Artemisia, strong Cockerel, strong Nighthawk, strong Bane, strong Dollmaker, etc. So that could mean that maybe all of it is, but my guess would be based on your potion making skill, you can make the various potions to different, or maybe it's an ingredient based thing, but you can make them to different strengths. So there could be a wide variety. Maybe there's a weak Bane, a regular, and a strong Bane or something like that. So one of them doesn't do nearly as much poison damage as another. Same thing would go for, I would guess, a Marigold decoction. One of them heals very little, maybe one of them heals a lot. So there would be more point to leveling up and practicing your potion making ability in this game than there was in the first game. You can also see that we have 500. We're at 233 of 500 for the weight as it's displayed there. Now that maybe that means the chest. So that would be an interesting change. If chests are no longer unlimited storage, maybe you can only store so much in them. Or if that's our player's weight, I'm guessing either they're using some sort of developer console commands, or maybe you can just carry a lot more in this game than you could in the first one. But 500 pounds would be a decent amount to be carrying in your little satchel. But after that little diversion, he continues on with the mission. We see another thing that I was very excited about in the gameplay teaser.
Now, back to the recruiting campaign,
which was a convoy of sorts with moving wagons in the open world. That's something we did not have in the first game. As someone pointed out to me when I premiered my reaction, we get one shot where we see a wagon in the first game, a moving wagon, and it's during a cutscene after the very beginning when Teresa rescues you from Skalitz. Other than that, there is no point in the game where you ever see people driving a wagon. This introduces some interesting context. Maybe we're going to see these a lot and they're going to be a huge gameplay mechanic, but if an NPC can drive a wagon, maybe Henry he can drive a wagon too. And that could have lots of fun consequences. So me personally, I like to do a lot of looting and killing bad guys and stuff. But a problem with that is the gear's very heavy. Maybe if you've got your own wagon and you can park it outside your camp, you can loot people and just throw all their stuff in the wagon and carry the entire thing into town. Who knows? Maybe that's not a gameplay mechanic, but wagons being in the game introduces that as a possibility, and that excites me. After this, we just get some more quest gameplay that, like I said, if you want to watch that, I'll have a link to the full video in the description. You can go check it out. You can see we get some more dialogue options that are very similar to the first game, but maybe have a little bit more depth and nuance to them. So here we get our basic options where we can use our appeal to emotion and lie, or we can just choose some different dialogue options. Here we get to use our speech to try and convince her to tell us what happened, or just where we can find the guy that we're looking for. Here we were able to either proceed with our direct dialogue or probe a little bit more into our personal questioning for her. And then once we figured it out, we even have the option to help her out with some medicine, which is something I always liked as an option in the first game. I can see it's not tied to a skill like it usually was in the first game, but maybe it's just because we already have the potion that would be required for it in our inventory here. But after we help her out, she tells us where to go, and we go and find him. Also, we gained reputation for helping her, so that's always good. Then we get the scene from the beginning, and we can watch some of it now, or we cannot, because like I said, most of it's all in Polish. Basically, we've just got the guy's mad because this guy is accused of messing around with his wife. Interestingly, while he's being hanged, he still has what is clearly a dagger or dirk or something like that on his belt, which is interesting. I mean, his hands are tied behind his back, so it would be difficult to use it, but you'd think that's something they would take off of him before they try to hang him. Another little, I said I wasn't going to talk much about history, but we have a slight anachronism here. You can see that he's tied up with a noose, and the noose knot on there is definitely not one that would have been common to see in 1400s Bohemia. That is a much more modern noose design. Typically back then you'd see a slip knot of some sort because they weren't concerned with it. The design they have here is very similar to the American noose style, which was designed specifically to break the neck when people were hanged. So that's why it has all those knots on top, because it was supposed to drive a lot more force down right, yeah, you can see it here, right into the neck. And the idea was that it was a quick drop and it would break your neck that way instead of slowly strangling or suffocating you. So to the best of my knowledge, this knot was not commonly used in 1400s Bohemia, so I did find a little historical anachronism, but I can allow it because it's used all the time. You see it all the time in modern media. Whenever they're hanging someone, almost exclusively, they've got some sort of a modern noose knot, but that's just an interesting little factoid. Then Henry, of course, interacts here, gets a lot of dialogue options for trying to convince them out of it, so I'm assuming this quest could go a lot of different ways. He, of course, chooses the confrontational ways, bringing up, so here we get a more detailed dialogue option. We've got just our standard response. It's just slander, saying that the claims that he was sleeping with his wife aren't proven or anything, so there's nothing there. Then we have various options here. We could use our appeal to emotion. He belongs to the Lord of Sukdol, so that would be an option saying, hey, you know, if you hang this guy, you're going to get in trouble. I'll break your arms as a threat, so that'll probably be dependent on our combat level. And then, of course, we get to use our personal knowledge here of the fact that he is a wife beater, and so we can use that. Of course, that's likely to antagonize him, but my guess would be maybe if your combat level or your speech was high enough, maybe that would pay off. It doesn't for him, because after he chooses that, we can see that it fails. We lose some reputation from that once it fails, because you can see our little fail icon down there, and it leads us into combat. So we get another shot at some decently interesting combat that once again shows all of the things I've been talking about. It looks like we've got a lot more weight, speed, fluidity, and everything in the combat system. So that's all great. And that is where it all ends, essentially. I mean, we get some more talking in the video itself, and then we get a little bit of information. It once again shows the release date as February 11th, 2025. And here we get some of the details about the pre-order bonuses. So there are bonuses to pre-ordering this game. There's a unique quest line, which is the Lion's Mane or whatever. It's the little icon we're seeing to the left here. I'm assuming it comes with a unique suit of armor. There's various different things, so if you're interested in that, there's also a collector's edition that's out. I recommend looking into it if you're a big fan, because it looks like a pretty cool collector's edition. Comes with a figurine, maps, some pins, you know, various stuff like that, plus the gold edition of the game, which comes with a season pass, so they are clearly planning DLCs for this, which, you know, doesn't surprise me because they had them for the first game. But that is everything that we see in the gameplay reveal. Like I said, I didn't just want to play through through the video and go through every single thing because A, the video itself was long enough, and B, I really just wanted to focus on the gameplay changes, the user interface changes, the HUD stuff, all of the differences that I was able to notice for the gameplay itself from the first game. So that's all for today. Hope you enjoyed the video. Like I said, if you want to see anything else like a more detailed historical analysis, let me know down in the comment section below. But in any case, thanks for watching and have a nice day, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching another Dare to Game video. If you liked this video, please leave a like and a comment. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you like my content and would like to support this channel, consider becoming a member today for as little as $1.99 a month. It makes a huge difference. But in any case, thanks for watching and have a nice day. I'll see you next time.